We're now joined by State Senator Joseph Pennacchio, who is the Deputy Republican leader in the State Senate in New Jersey. Senator, great to see you as always.
Thanks for having me on, Steve. Merry Christmas.
We're taping right before Christmas. We'll be seen in 2024. Senator, let me ask you this. The election in November spoke for itself. People can decide what it means. But on parental rights, you and many of your colleagues were saying, hey, parents are getting cut out of certain information about their children that they should have. And it was a huge issue for you and many of your Republican colleagues. And the argument didn't seem to convince enough people for the Republicans to gain more seats. In fact, you lost them. What's the parental rights issue for you? And why do you think it's not as popular as some people expected it to be?
Well, regardless of the election, Steve, I think it still is a very huge issue. To us, it's a fundamental right of parents. It's a constitutional moral right that the ultimate decision for whoever and whatever is in the best interest of that child lies with the parents.
Okay, but here's the thing. We actually had Governor Murphy on. I asked people to check our website out, steveadubato.org will come up on the screen. I asked the governor about that. I said, Governor, look, if a parent needs to know that their kid's going to the Turtleback Zoo or going on a field trip and they have to sign off, why wouldn't they have to know if a 10-year-old child in school said something to a teacher, to an administrator, someone about their confusion about their sexual orientation or their gender? And he said, Steve, in theory, the parent should know, but not every parent is as supportive and loving, and that child could be put at risk. What do you say to that argument, Senator?
So that's a specious argument. If somebody thinks that a parent would ever dare hurt a child, there's many venues where a teacher or an administrator or anybody can go to try to help that child. So that argument to me doesn't carry any weight. Here is what the statistics say, and this is by some of the gay rights group. If you have a sexual dysphoria, between 50 and 60% of those children that have those dysphorias contemplate suicide. As adults, over 40% of the people that have transitioned, 40% have actually attempted suicide. So before a child puts themselves in harm's way, before a parent has to visit the morgue, or worse yet, see their child dead in a morgue, this is something that maybe the parent should be seeking counseling with that child, exactly what's going on with them.
But just before I leave the Senator, so you're saying you can't imagine a parent ever not being supportive of their child who was questioning their sexual orientation or their gender. You're convinced that every parent in every case would always be supportive. And respectfully, Senator, you know that's just not true.
Well, yeah, but the opposite is not true either. To think that 100% of the parents would not be supportive. First of all, most of those sexual dysphoria issues they go away by the time puberty reaches. It said they're not sexual identity issues. They're sexuality issues. They're gay issues, not sexual.
Why you call it, Senator, respectfully, you're calling someone's sexual orientation or what they believe their sexual orientation to be sexual dysphoria? What adjective are you using?
Well, that's the name of it. That's what they call when you don't think that your body is housing the right gender. It's a sexual dysphoria. Not my term. That's a scientific.
Is that 1 second, Senator? Are you saying that someone's sexual orientation is sexual dysphoria as well?
Sexual orientation?
They believe that they're gay.
Steve, no, wait. That's a sexual identity issue, not a sexual dysphoria. Sexual dysphoria means that you don't know if you're a man or you don't know if you're a boy or a girl, depending on what age. What I am saying is that a 7, 8, 9-year-old child, many who still believe in Santa Claus, should not be indoctrinated into thinking that perhaps you're thinking one way and you're allowed to be a boy or a girl or whatever you want to be. Maybe that's an issue that the parents should have in consultation with perhaps some help, some medical advice to see exactly what's in this child's mind before the child hurts himself.
Senator, respectfully, who's indoctrinating a child to believe that? I'm not sure where that came from.
Well, you're getting rid of pronouns. You're having children, and the law itself, by the way, states that the diversity, inclusion, and equity issues, which teaches all this, starts from kindergarten to 12th grade. Any type of teaching that happens, Steve, in school, up until 9, 10 years old, it's all indoctrination because these kids don't have the cognitive ability in order to be taught objectively. It's all subjective learning. You learn your ABCs and you learn your math through rote. These kids believe what the teacher tells them. So if they're being told, look, today, if you don't feel like you're a boy or you don't feel like a girl, just let us know and we'll change your pronoun for you. I think that's misguided. I also think it's very dangerous for a child to be subjected to that.
Senator, you have very strong views on a whole range of issues. I'm curious about this. Do you believe that the 2020 election was legally, officially won by Joe Biden and lost by Donald Trump?
Well, the issue, if it was won or lost, it's not up to Gil Pennacchio, but it was up to Donald Trump to make that case, and that case was never made. Do I believe that there was some nefarious things that happened? I do. I think it happened more so because it was all voted by mail. And this is not me talking. You had Jimmy Carter as well as whoever the Republican bipartisan commission. They said that if you're going to commit fraud in elections, most likely it's going to be committed through the mail. So to me, if you have one vote, that's illegal. That's one vote.
Did Donald Trump lose the election?
Obviously, he lost the election. Isn't Joe Biden the president?
Yep. Okay, and I just want to be clear. So the argument that the election was stolen, you don't believe?
Which election? 2016 with Russia collusion?
2020.
2020. There's arguments on both sides. I guess you got to pay attention to whose narrative you believe.
What do you think? I'm asking you, Senator, do you believe the 2020 election was quote unquote stolen, as the former president says, and many, many New Jerseyans and Americans believe? What do you believe?
No, Joe Pennacchio believes that it was up to President Trump to make that determination through the courts, and it just never happened.
If former President Trump is a convicted felon by the time the election is held, Chris Christie was one of the only ones in Republican debates recently who said he would not support him. Would you support President Trump if he were a convicted felon at the time of the election in 2024?
In the gate, an election by the people? Why don't we wait to see what happens? That's too much of a hypothetical for Gil Pennacchio to make a decision one way or the other right now, Steve.
But it's an open question. You would consider supporting him if
I gave you an open answer. It's an open answer. The answer is I don't know.
No, it's either yes or no.
In the history of this country, has anybody ever been elected after they've been indicted and convicted of a federal? No. So what? So for Gil Pennacchio to give you an answer to 250 years of American history has never happened. Why would I want to subject myself to giving you an answer?
Because it's interesting. It was a question in the Republican debate for candidates running for president, and all of them except for former Governor Chris Christie said they would not support him, or said they would support him. So it's a legitimate question. Okay, you're saying it's an open question. Senator, let me ask you this final question. To what degree do you believe our democracy is in danger right now?
Well, democracy is always in danger. Good things happen. Bad things happen when good people do nothing. I think John Stuart Mill says that. So right. Get involved. You have to be involved. I have to be involved. People with opposing views have to be involved. And we've got to follow the letter of the law.
Agreed. Senator Joe Pennacchio is the deputy Republican leader in the Senate, and we thank him for joining us. Thank you, Senator.
Next time we see.
You got it. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, RWJ Barnabas Health, Johnson & Johnson, Veolia, PSE&G, New Brunswick Development Corporation, Operating Engineers, Local 825, Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, the Terrell Fund, a foundation serving children, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State, and by Employers Association of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, and by Meadowlands Chamber.
Do you know someone who's done something extraordinary for others, whether a community service or an act of heroism? That person may be a candidate for the Raspberry Award for making a difference. Help us pay it forward by honoring New Jersey's unsung heroes in their efforts to make a difference in the lives of others.